Hey, what's up, guys? This is Jay coming to you once again from my office, sitting on the floor against the wall. This is my new favorite way to make videos. I think I was on the floor last time. I don't know. Anyway, uh, let's talk about the game. Let's give you an update. So it's going very, very, very well. I would go so far as to say this is the best the project has ever been going out of all of the like almost 5 years that it's been in development. We'll just say 5 years since we'll count pre-production as well. Um, so it's going really well. This is the most confident I've ever been about it. Um, it's going really well. But anyway, let me update you on what I was talking about in the last video. So, so we did the trailer and the green light. We got through green light, and so then after I went through green light, I was like stressed out, and I just needed to do something a little different for a while. So I was talking about how I was experimenting with a new feature. And shortly after I made the video, um, I sort of like had I don't know, like a revelation or something. Like, you know how you're just like sitting there and just like an idea just like shoots into your brain, and you're like, did this idea come from me, or like, where did this idea come from? And all of a sudden you're like, oh, that makes perfect sense. I should be doing that. So I had this like extreme moment of clarity about the project, and I realized like, kind of just like the perfect way to do things. And so I was like, okay, I've had enough fun experimenting on this feature, and it's something I'm still totally interested in. But I was like, I shouldn't be working on this feature now because I need to just, make this game. So I'll tell you what it is, just since it won't be in there initially anymore. So it was a level editor. So I did have a partially working level editor. I sort of based it on Mario Maker, so it's pretty similar controls, and it ran on desktop and mobile platforms. So I always thought Mario Maker would be better if you could like do it with an iPad or something, or a tablet. So I was experimenting with that, and then it was like shortly after I made the video saying I was going to do a demo video. So I apologize for that. There's not going to be a demo video, um, but it's not necessarily bad news, and it's pretty cool because now I do have like code for a working level editor that, if we do want to release that like after the game comes out, um, a lot of the work is already done. So it's something I'm pretty interested in. And I'm sure other people are too. That was kind of like the most requested feature of Super Mario Crossover. So, and I really like games that let you create stuff. So it's definitely something that I'm thinking about for the future. Um, but yeah, so again, I apologize that we're not going to be doing a demo video for that, but that's just kind of how things go. Sometimes you need a little break and you don't want to stop working, so you just kind of do something a little bit different for a while, and then all of a sudden you figure out everything. Like to give you more details. So like preparing everything for the trailer is, a lot different than preparing things for the final product. So it's just kind of how game development is. And if you talk to any professional game developer, they'll say the same thing. Like, just, you're just trying to get it done. So, especially if you're like trying to meet a deadline, and it's not like we necessarily had a deadline for the trailer, but I just really wanted people to see something, and it was so much work. So we were just trying to get it done, and then I was like, after all that kind of calmed down, I was like, okay, I need to make this game now. And then I was kind of like realizing, like, I cut a lot of corners to make the trailer. I was like, is this really a good code base to be building the game on? It's like I've been working with this code base for a really long time. I've learned a lot since then. So instead of just jumping right into kind of like forming all of that into just like into a playable product, I kind of rewrote a lot of stuff. I mean, not completely rewrote. I sort of like converted the code to a much more usable and maintainable format. Like, did a lot of refactoring, and then I also learned about some pretty cool, well, one really cool technique that I found out about if you're a programmer or just curious, it's called dependency injection. So I've kind of restructured the entire project around dependency injection, and it's like really simplified things. So that was just really nice, and it's so much less stressful to work on the game now. Like, having a clean code base is just so nice. I don't know how to describe it. Like, your code can kind of become like, like spaghetti or whatever, where everything's like dependent on each other. And yeah, I'm just programming things in a way now that's just so much cleaner, very scalable. So I mean, like, no matter how big the game gets, it's like, oh, it's so easy to maintain, and it's so good. And then the other programming philosophy, I don't know if that's the right word, that I've been using way more is reactive programming. So I sort of restructured all of the code around dependency injection and reactive programming. And in my opinion, those two things just like simplify everything. Like, everything's so much easier to work with. The code is so clean. I don't want to keep talking about it because it's probably boring, but it's just, oh man, compared to just how the code was before and how it is now, it's like, oh, it's so nice. And it's only taken about 3 to 4 weeks, probably maybe 1 or 2 more weeks to finish converting all of the code to this new format. But it's so nice. It was totally worth it. So anyway, the code is very clean, which hugely increases my like confidence and what's the word for that, success rate. I don't know if there's a word. There's probably a word for that. The probability of success, we'll say that. The probability of like completion and success for the project has increased like 1000%, because I've just learned so much in the time since I started the project until now. So, and I was telling some other people, I don't know if I mentioned it in a video, but even though there's been like different, versions, like air quotes, versions of the project where people thought it kept like changing or whatever, it's always been the same project, and it's always been the same code base. So if you have a code base that you've kind of been working with for like 5 years, you a lot of things change in that time. Like technology changes, you change, you learn more. And Unity also started supporting C#6 in the current beta. So I've also been like updating the code to use C#6 features. So anyway, um, I hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so um, like I was making the level editor, and then I kind of realized like, well, I'm sort of procrastinating because the code is sort of like scary and complicated. So then I was like, well, let me kind of restart, you know. So actually, I started the project clean, and then I kind of only brought in the code as I needed it. So I would be like, okay, I need this class, and I would bring in that code, and I would rewrite it in this new cleaner format with dependency injection and reactive programming. And the reactive programming library I'm using is called UnitRx, and the dependency injection library is called Zenject. If you want to use those in your own project, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. I think the way Unity encourages you to program by default is not good. Maybe start out doing it the way Unity recommends, but as you get more advanced, you'll start to see the disadvantages of doing things the way that Unity recommends. And like, I sort of like realized all these problems as I was doing it, and then when I found dependency injection, I was like, this is the solution I've been looking for. So it's awesome. What else is there to say? Well, let me talk about the actual project without, I don't know, revealing too much. So, okay, so I talked about this moment where like this thought was like beamed into my head from was it an alien? I don't know. Some thought just appeared in my head where it was like, it's so simple. It's like, I like games that are simple, but like I like games that have simple gameplay, but it's also there's room for complexity. Like it's easy to play, it's fun, but there's room for a lot of exploration and stuff. So it's only like some very small changes being made to the game, but the cool thing is that it's the game is now unique. So I don't know, I was sort of like stuck with this idea of sort of just like remaking Super Mario Crossover. So I don't know, that's just like what I was always kind of stuck with. Or basically like having Super Mario Crossover in other like games or other worlds or whatever. So I've gone past that now. The game is unique on its own. We got this really cool feature, and it fits in perfectly. Like the trailer, it's not invalidated or anything. Like you'll still see all of the same stuff that was shown in the trailer, although we are changing like the graphics and everything. But it's just a really nice, simple premise for the game that really easy to follow and really easy to execute on. Just because as a game, as a game designer, which I was sort of new to besides Super Mario Crossover, I've also grown, and then I've sort of started to learn about what works and doesn't work, and we're sort of following like an established I don't know if I want to say formula. Like we're taking like a well-known formula that a lot of like really classic games use, but then we're kind of like twisting it a little bit, throwing in two things that are unique to our game. So we're sort of like taking a classic idea and then adding two new things to it that sort of really change it. And later I'll tell you what that is, but right now I'm not going to. So the project is going very well. Um, oh yeah, one other thing. That's what I wanted to say. Um, so the thing that I was struggling with was, I talked about making the game episodic, and I mean nobody wants to make an episodic game. Like, oh, not anybody I know. Not that I know a lot of people, or I don't know a lot of game developers or anything, but um, like the reason that I was making it episodic is just because I'm it's hard to survive like financially while you're making the game. So I thought, well, if we do it in episodes, then we can, once the first episode comes out, then we'll start making some money, and then we'll have more time to work on the other stuff. But then that was sort of actually becoming stressful because I was like, well, if you make a game episodic, then it's like you sort of have to plan ahead and you have to know where things are going. I mean, because the episodes aren't really standalone, like they would sort of have to depend on each other and stuff. So when this like lightning bolt idea thing struck my head, um, I figured out like, oh, we don't need to make it episodic. So so what we're actually doing now, and I get it. I know things change. Things change for every game. It's just you don't normally have access to, like, most game development studios aren't this public about their process because they don't launch a Kickstarter without, you know, knowing stuff. I was ignorant when I launched a Kickstarter. So things always change for games, but so this idea I have now, I think this is the final iteration. So game development is an iterable, is that the right word? It's a process of iteration. So like you have an idea, you make something with that idea, you see the problems, like is this fun, you know does this work, and you experiment with it and then you change it. That's another iteration. So this project has been through several iterations. You've seen them, and I sort of like named them, which I probably shouldn't have. And that, I don't know, whatever. I can't be expected to do this perfectly. Okay, like I'll be the first person to admit, like, I started this process as a guy who made a fan game. Okay, and I got a lot of pressure from people on the Kickstarter or just the general public. Like, it's gonna be a messy process, and I've been trying to blame myself less and less for that and realize, like, this is just how it is. Like, any creative thing is a messy process, and you don't just go with your first idea. You try your idea, and that's why I said you keep iterating on it, and you keep making small changes here and there, and then sometimes you might make a big change, like, and you just keep going until you find, like, the answer. You find the fun, you find the game. And so I found it. I very clearly found the game. There's probably a better way to say that, but, like, I got it. It's gonna be an awesome game. I know how to, and it's unique. It's a really unique, fun idea, and we're making it small. So this is what I was saying. So the reason I was doing episodic before is just because I don't have a lot of money. I'm actually, whatever whatever people tell you on the internet, I am severely in debt from working on this project. I am not some genius con artist that made a bunch of money. I lost thousands, thousands of dollars. I am thousands of dollars in debt from this project. So I thought, like, well, if I make it episodic, at least I can start making some money and try to get somewhat financial stability. So that's why I wanted to do episodic before. But then I just realized, like, why am I trying to do episodic? Why don't I just make a smaller game? And the reason I wasn't like allowing myself that possibility before is because I was trying to meet the Kickstarter requirements and all that. But it's not possible. So what I'm doing now, I got it. It's gonna be a cool game. Um, it'll be smaller, and to instead of doing episodic, it's just I'll just do a sequel. Like if the game's successful, which I expect it to be, um, I'll just do a sequel, and I'll give that to the backers for free. So instead of trying to do episodes, it's just make smaller games that are sequels. It's very simple. So that's the idea now, and the current plan is it's 10 levels. So again, it's not. It's going to be about the size of a Mega Man game, um, and I really do believe this is the final iteration of this project. Uh, it's all very clear. It's gonna work really well. Um, so my current milestone, it's a big one. Once I get there, I'm gonna be very happy. So I'm trying to make the game, get the whole flow of the game done. So like, you start the game, play through the levels, you finish the game. So that sounds like a whole game, but I don't mean like the levels they won't all be done. I'm just setting up the basic flow that you can start the game and play through the game from start to finish, but just in a really condensed form. So I'm talking like 5 minutes long for me to start from, and then we just keep filling in the content to expand it. So that's the milestone for me is to make the game beatable. Like the whole is that clear? I hope it's clear. Just you can play the game from start to finish, with all the levels, but all the levels aren't filled with content. So I think hopefully that makes sense to you. And yeah, we got a really clear design and format to follow. But we do need. There's still a lot of things that we have to experiment on and iterate on, but the actual like the core design of the game, we've reached the final iteration. In my opinion, we figured it out. So. Yeah, like I said, I'm just getting to that place now where the game is beatable. Like it's where it can actually be called a game. You can start the game, you can finish the game. So I'm getting there, and for me, reaching that milestone, it's a big deal just because of everything I've gone through to make this game. I've gone through so much. No one will ever know how difficult this has been. But I'm just so happy that I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I've solved most of the really difficult problems. So we'll get there. We're almost there. Thanks for everybody that's, followed this process. I don't think anyone should do what I did. This has been extremely hard on me, like mentally, and my wife Iggy. It's been a struggle for both of us, and I know it is still. It's not a gigantic road ahead, but it's still a long road ahead. I don't think it's gonna make summer, but I don't think we're gonna be too far after summer. At least we're getting there now. Like we're almost there. So I guess that's about it. Man, making games is hard, but the game itself, super excited about, and it sort of feels worth it to finally have a cool game. But is it worth the cost personally? I don't know. I can't answer that right now. It's rough, man. Going the way I've gone, I don't really, I wouldn't really recommend doing it like this. Like if I could go back, I wouldn't do the Kickstarter. It's been so hard, but this is just what I do. I don't know why I have this. I just always had this thing in my life where it's like I need to be creating something, otherwise life feels meaningless to me. So working on this game has it's given me meaning, fulfillment, and I'm just really happy that it's finally coming together. And I don't know, I'll probably be more emotional after we're closer. It still feels like a long road, but it feels like I said at the beginning of this video, it feels more achievable now than it ever has. Like I can really see now. I got it. Like I know how to do it. I'm close. So that feels really reassuring, because there's always problems, and you could try to ignore the problems. And I think when I was making the level editor, I was sort of like, it's because I was a little bit scared. I was like, I don't know, the way I have the code designed, I don't know if this is really maintainable. Like, I don't know if I'm really going to be able to do it like this. But then took a little bit of time to research a better way, apply all the knowledge, that I've gained over the years, and it's like, bam, it's like, yes, this is it. So, fun times ahead. It's just a matter of getting there now. But I'm on the right track, and I'm glad I got a cool person to work with. He'll be rejoining the project once I get everything ready. He's sort of been doing his own thing for a while. And that's another thing I've learned. Like, if you're making a game with multiple people, if you're like the guy in charge of the game, like, first get the project ready, get everything ready, get the workflows established, then bring on the other people. Because otherwise, what are they going to be doing? Like, if you don't have the workflow ready for the art or for like making levels, it's like the other people don't, they can't really do anything except like experiment or try things. But anyway, I don't feel like going into that right now. I'm just saying it's going really well. Again, this is the best it's ever been going. I feel extremely confident that both the game will get done and it will be awesome. But it will be small. Again, probably about the size of a Mega Man game. But I think it's worth it. We'll start out with that. We can add DLC, probably not additional levels, but like challenges or maybe a level editor, stuff like that. But then, then we move on to a sequel. It's a better way to do it. Then I don't have to be worrying about like, how are these later episodes gonna fit in? Oh, what's the major story? It's like, no, I'm not really that focused on the story. I'm just focused on this self-contained product that's small and achievable, but awesome. Small but awesome. That's the plan. Thanks for sticking with me, everybody. Hopefully I'll be looking back on this and being like, oh my god, I finally finished it. That will be the greatest feeling in the world. Until next time, see you later.